I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all.
There's President Trump on his way to NATO just in the last hour before leaving Washington for the NATO summit. He said both Israel and Iran violated the ceasefire that he brokered yesterday. The president had a busy morning on Truth Social, posting this: Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home, while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. The president brokering ceasefire and peace in the Middle East yesterday. Joining me now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committees. Senator, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Assess the president's leadership on all of this and what has taken place. How do you see things?
Well, I think President Trump's leadership has been extraordinary. It has been clear-eyed. He has stood unshakably alongside our friend and ally, the state of Israel, and he acted decisively this weekend to take out Iran's nuclear capability. The military attack that our soldiers carried out was incredibly effective. We had 7 B-2 stealth bombers that dropped a total of 14 bunker buster bombs on 3 nuclear facilities, annihilated those nuclear facilities, and made it home safely with no casualties whatsoever. That was clear. That was decisive. And Maria, understand the reason the president ordered that attack was, yes, to stand with Israel, but more fundamentally to protect America. The Ayatollah, when he chants death to America and death to Israel, he means it. The Ayatollah refers to Israel as the little Satan. He refers to America as the great Satan. And there's a reason the Ayatollah has been developing an ICBM program. ICBM, as you know, stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. You don't need an ICBM for Iran to attack Israel. They're relatively close. The purpose of an ICBM, the reason the Ayatollah wants an ICBM, is to be able to detonate a nuclear warhead over an American city and potentially kill millions of Americans. That's why President Trump acted decisively, and I'm proud to stand with the president.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were afraid of retaliation from Iran, and we were talking about what Iran is capable of at this point. And when I spoke with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, on Sunday, he had a message for China should Iran make a move. Watch this. Do you expect Iran to move to close the Strait of Hormuz to try to disrupt oil transportation across the world?
Well, I encourage the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that, because they heavily depend on the Straits of Hormuz for their oil. If they do that, it'll be another terrible mistake. It's economic suicide for them if they do it. And we retain options to deal with that. But other countries should be looking at that as well. It would hurt other countries' economies a lot worse than ours. It would be, I think, a massive escalation that would merit a response, not just by us, but from others. We had 3 objectives. We struck those 3 objectives with decisive force. And that was the point of this mission, and that's what we achieved. What happens next will depend on what they do. They want to negotiate, we're ready to negotiate. They want to get cute and do things that are dangerous, we have responses available that are devastating.
So, Senator, what do you want to see happen now? I mean, it seems to me that if, in fact, you and your colleagues and President Trump are able to put the Iranian threat at bay, perhaps the president now can turn attention to focusing on the larger adversary, I think, or equal adversary, and that is communist China. Tell us how you see foreign policy from here.
Yeah, Maria, both are very serious challenges. The most acute short-term national security risk America faced was the risk of a nuclear Iran, because you have a theocratic lunatic leading that country who was actively trying to develop nuclear weapons, who was close to developing nuclear weapons, and had repeatedly stated his intention to use those weapons and to try to murder as many Americans as possible. That's what President Trump acted decisively this weekend to eliminate that threat. In terms of long-term threats, the biggest geopolitical threat the United States faces over the next century is, as you said, communist China. And I got to tell you, when I arrived in the Senate 13 years ago, I was saying 13 years ago, China is our greatest adversary, our greatest threat over the next 100 years. And at the time, that was a very lonely view in the United States Senate. Every Democrat disagreed with me, and most of the Republicans disagreed with me. They just looked at China, and they saw nothing but dollar signs as far as the eye can see. I think many more people, their eyes have opened up to the threat of China, and I think we need to have the same sort of comprehensive, serious strategy to counteract and defeat China that we had under Ronald Reagan for the Soviet Union, that won the Cold War, defeated the Soviet Union, and won the Cold War without a shot. And in both instances, let's be clear, in Iran and with China, nobody wants a shooting war where America and China, where our armies are shooting at each other. Just same with Iran. Nobody wants America to invade Iran. That's not what President Trump did. He did a limited targeted bombing strike. But there are lots of tools we can use to counteract China, just like we did with the Soviet Union, short of military conflict. And I believe President Trump is clear-eyed about taking on China, as he should be.
And you've assessed this in a very practical way. I don't understand why your colleagues on the left do not see this. I mean, we're talking about elected officials who have been screaming Russia, Russia, Russia while China was eating our lunch. Now a group of 12 House Democrats who are also, by the way, military veterans. They're supporting a War Powers Act, which would constrain President Trump's military authority. In the middle of this incredible conflict, they want to constrain the president of the free world in response to Operation Midnight Hammer, when the U.S. took out those 3 nuclear sites. You've got Democrats Jim Himes, Gregory Meeks, Adam Smith introducing a war powers resolution to stop U.S. armed forces from hitting Iran, Senator. What are you going to do about it, and how do you see this playing out?
Well, listen, it's going to fail. It's going to be voted down. But I got to say, today's Democrat Party, it's really sad that they don't stand for any policies, any reasonable positions. They're now a party of anger and hate. The number one hate they have is they hate Donald Trump. It is the animating position of Democrats today is hatred of Donald J. Trump. Next, they hate Israel, and the anti-Israel sentiment, the pro-Hamas sentiment in the Democrat Party keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when Israel is in the midst of war, the Democrats' instinct is, how can we undermine and weaken Israel? And far too many of them, I'm very sorry to say, I believe hate America. That the same people who are funding Democrats are the people who are funding anti-Semitic protests on college campuses. They're people who are funding riots in Los Angeles and other cities in favor of open borders and allowing more murderers and rapists and Venezuelan gang members into America. And that is an agenda that makes no sense. So the Democrats, they'll have their vote. It'll be voted down. And you can count on, if we need elected leaders to stand up to our enemies, to stand with our friends, to protect Americans, sadly, the Democrats are telling the American people they're not those leaders, and they're going to be on the wrong side of every one of those issues.
That is a sad situation. And by the way, one more reason why you don't have any Democrat support for President Trump's agenda. You have returned to Washington. Your colleagues are back as the clock is ticking down on this July 4th deadline to pass the big, beautiful bill. Tell me where it stands. I know Ron Johnson is very worried about debt and deficits. You've got others like Rand Paul worried about raising the debt ceiling. Will you get this over the finish line, and where are the cuts coming? What will this look like at the end of the Senate briefing?
So listen, we're going to get it done, and the reason we're going to get it done, Maria, is we have to, because it is the principal vehicle through which we can accomplish the president's agenda, through which we can deliver on the mandate that came on Election Day. The American people reelected President Trump, gave us a Republican Senate, a Republican House. Now we've got to deliver. There are a lot of good things in this bill. This bill rebuilds our military. This bill secures the border, funds building the wall, funds more Border Patrol agents, more ICE agents. This bill also cuts taxes on working men and women. It includes, among other things, my legislation on no tax on tips, a terrific policy the president campaigned on. I wrote the law. That's in this bill. This will be the biggest tax cut of a generation, and I hope we see significant spending cuts. We're in the middle of those debates right now. I am with my colleagues who are fighting for more spending cuts. I think we ought to show real fiscal discipline, but where exactly we land, we'll find out this week. But one way or another, we're going to get it done, because Failure is not an option. We got to deliver on our promises.
We've got to jump. Senator, will you support a $30,000 SALT cap?
Look, I think the SALT deduction ought to be as low as possible. At the end of the day, we should not be subsidizing blue state Democrats who tax the hell out of their citizens.
You want 10,000.
So I'd like it as low as possible, but that's going to be a negotiation. It's going to be a back and forth between the Senate and the House, and we'll resolve it. It'll be somewhere in a middle ground.
All right, Senator. Great to see you this morning, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Senator Ted Cruz on Capitol Hill. We'll be right back with Tom Homan. Stay with us.